It's the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the bid, clothesline on Britain. Father of the American nation, was the first president of the U.S. to serve the 2 terms. But before, in 1775, a revolution broke that made the U.S. strike. It goes back when the British government tried to tax U.S. to support Great Britain. And that's a fact, no taxation without representation. It's the only way to go in the U.S. nation.
But Britain said no.
Don't chase me, bro. They started a war, now they're gonna pay and hit the floor. But now in 1773, some colonists dumped a bunch of British tea in the Boston Harbor, the Boston Tea Party. And it's still part of U.S. history. Now this led to the formation of the First Continental Congress, which made the feud worse. This group protested against Boston. The amount of attention it got was none, so the colonists decided to form a second one. After the attention, the revolution begun. It's the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the big clothesline on Britain. It's the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the big clothesline on Britain. Someone Lyman writers challenge ideas of government. The new theories are in the process of development. The Declaration of Independence was set to form based on the Enlightenment philosophies that were born. So John Locke had a very popular theory to have the rights of life, liberty, and property. He favored self-government and criticized absolute monarchy, which he greatly despised. His philosophy about the 3 natural rights could have been the reason for the many long fights, but we all know that these rights are still in play today. The form of a power called a democracy. I got the facts, son. I got the facts, son. I got the facts, son. About the Constitution. It limits government powers, and that happens to make me a really, really big fan. Now we have 3 branches that are very effective: the legislative, judicial, and the executive. This is a checks and balances system that we need, so the 3 branches don't get overrun with greed. And how could you forget about the bills that keep it right, which delegates the Constitution to keep it tight? Roll to the rock, rock to the roll. Washington had a patriotic heart. It's so you gonna dodge it with an 8-foot pole. And he even let the U.S. take control.
Washington was ready to strike,
like an
and he's got
better hair
than Donald
It's
Trump.
the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the big clothesline on Britain.
Now we'll leave you with some facts that will keep you intact. With text official documents, colonies, stand act. And what about the Navigation Act? The colonists could only sell to England, made them very, very pissed. And how could you forget about the Boston Massacre, who many lives were lost because of British murderers? And like I mentioned before,
The Tea Party.
the British closed up port of Boston's failed strategy. And why would the British undermine the colonists? Because of the power they thought was harmless. But now in 1778, the French came to aid, cleared the colonists' mistakes.
Snap it to a Slim Jim. In me, the U.S. gained another big victory.
Washington was Diesel.
And very urgent.
He was Diesel.
Like the Mercury machines. It's the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the big clothesline on Britain. It's the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the big clothesline on Britain. It's the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the big clothesline on Britain. It's the American Revolution. It's time for the U.S. armies and soldiers to shine. He's on the dollar bill, let the war Washington. Drop the big clothesline on Britain.